Hello and welcome. I'm Andrea Kennedy, and in this Reiki video, we're going to talk about permission. It's a really big subject. It's the topic of many a thread on social media. And if you've got your own opinions and questions or suggestions, feel free to write about those in the comment section. I can't wait to see what you have to say. If you're not already a subscriber here, I would invite you to consider that and click the bell icon to get notified of all the new videos right when they come out. Usually in Reiki Level 2, students learn how to send or offer Reiki to someone at a distance. And that distance could be across the room, in the next room, across town, or all the way around the world. Because Reiki is energy, it just isn't bound by time and space. Distance Reiki is a very exciting aspect of Reiki practice. And in my early days after learning Reiki, I tell you, I spent lots and lots of time on distance sessions. The question is it required to have the permission of the person that you're offering Reiki to over distance? The easy and most simple answer is sure, get the person's permission. I mean, why not, right? We're offering them this Reiki energy, which can help them to create profound change in their lives, and they might see big differences in not just physical symptoms, but also their attitudes and perspectives about things. Reiki is gentle, but it is powerful, and shifts do occur. So why wouldn't we want to get the other person's permission? I would say whenever possible, get the person's permission. When would that not be possible? Well, if someone's in a coma, in a hospital, if they cannot verbally respond, that would be one instance that you really couldn't get permission. Another situation would be a baby. A baby can't give you permission. Also, animals cannot give a verbal response to the question if they want to accept the Reiki healing energy from you. So what do you do in those instances? One response I've often heard is that Reiki always respects free will. And I have seen that time and time again, and that's true. So if a person did not really want to receive the Reiki and it was offered to them, if they were not in resonance with the energy, accepting that, the energy would just sort of bypass them and it would not interfere or ever force itself into their energetic system. In this case, a practitioner can offer the Reiki, and if it isn't wanted, all of that decision making is really taking place on a higher level. So we're offering it, and if for some reason the person isn't interested in receiving it, the energy would just sort of go off into the ether, not harming them or having any negative effect at all. And of course, they wouldn't receive any benefit either. An analogy that might explain this a little bit more clearly is prayer. We don't always ask people if it's okay if we say a prayer for them, but we pray anyway. We would say the prayer and just sort of let it go. And if the person is open to what the prayer may bring, then perhaps that's realized for them. If at some level they are not open to receiving the benefits of that prayer or any changes from that prayer, the prayer is not going to do anything damaging or hurtful to them. I also feel it's a matter of our intent. If we simply just offer Reiki to whoever it is and we have no attachment to an outcome and it's just simply freely offered to them with no strings attached, I don't see how that can really be a bad thing. Reiki, of course, is life force energy. Often, though, practitioners, as they practice Reiki more and more, like myself, receive intuitive guidance or insight really into the person. And I know in my sessions, I can pick up and tune into some very personal things about people. And I never do that if I do not have their permission to do that side of my Reiki sessions. Not all Reiki practitioners do that. So if we're only talking about sending the energy, that's what this video is for. If you regularly tune in and get information about people when you do Reiki sessions, then that's a little bit different and that's a little bit more invasive. And for that, I would say get permission. When I first learned distance Reiki way back when, my teacher showed me a technique that would check to see if the person would accept the Reiki energy if I couldn't get verbal permission and ask them over the phone or in person. And I'll show you what that technique is now. What she taught me was to hold my hand out and imagine the person was little in my hand, their whole body. And then I was to begin to channel Reiki energy and hold my other hand over the top, channeling Reiki energy, imagining that that person was in between my hands. And she said to feel between my hands, trying to put my hands together like that, trying to feel if I was having resistance there or if I was able to really bring them together and have that a natural progression downward. And her explanation was, if I was channeling Reiki, doing this with my intention, as I've already stated to you, if I could bring my hands together like that, that meant they were accepting of it. Now, this isn't getting conscious permission, but you're sort of going on another level and asking them energetically. I have to say, in all the times I've ever done that, I've never had it rejected. Also, I don't think I've ever had anybody tell me verbally no to receiving Reiki. If a practitioner ever were to receive a verbal no, and I've seen this in discussion groups where a family member tells the practitioner, nope, I do not want Reiki, but they really want to give it to them anyway. And I'm telling you, if they give you a verbal no, that's it. The end, done. Do not pursue this, because even if you try to do this or think, oh, well, it won't do anything harmful or anything, if they've given you the verbal no, I would ask you to please respect that. No matter how much we might want to help that person, they have made their wishes clear. And sure, their higher self might know better, but we're here dealing with ourselves on this plane, so that verbal response, I think, is key. I think it's just really a matter of respect. I know that I just wouldn't want anybody just tinkering around with my energy without my permission or even knowing about it. So I would ask you to put yourself on the other side of that equation and see what you might feel about that. Some practitioners might use a pendulum, and the pendulum will say a yes or no for that person if they give permission. That's another way to do that. And some people will intuitively ask, and they can sort of get quiet and just almost in a meditative state and ask if they have permission to offer Reiki to that person, and then they receive a feeling back. And so I would call that guidance. So I always think guidance is very good for you to follow, but just make sure it's clean and clear guidance and you set your personal feelings and desires aside in order to get that clear and true answer. Another thing to consider is Reiki is life force energy. And if we're only sending pure Reiki, life force energy, that's all we're doing. We're not tuning into them. We're not trying to look in their energy field or find out root causes of anything. If we're only sending the energy and that's it, with a clean and clear absence of an agenda, we don't have a motive. If we don't have any of that, I think we're freed up a little bit. So, a distance Reiki share, like I've been doing each week. I have names that have been submitted and I send out distance Reiki to all those people. I'm certainly not calling on the phone all those people and seeing if I have their permission. That sort of practice is more like a prayer. I'm sending Reiki energy out. I'm not tuning in to anybody. I'm not receiving any personal information about them at all. It's just Reiki going out, like a blessing of Reiki. And I think that's important to consider as well. As a professional practitioner, I do distance Reiki sessions, 75-minute sessions. Of course, I'm going to have permission for those. But what if I'm on an airplane and there's a baby at the back of the plane just crying and crying and crying and just distraught? And am I going to go ask the parents for permission to offer this baby Reiki? Honestly, I'm not. I'm going to be sitting in my chair and I'm just going to offer Reiki back there. And certainly I'm going to just direct it back there, and to anybody who needs it, it's open to them, especially the poor parents, because I know I've been in that position where I've had a screaming baby on the airplane and it can be really tough on the parents. But again, I'm not tuning in. I'm not trying to, dig down deep and really help these people. I'm just offering support with Reiki energy. So again, in that sort of context, I'm not really going to ask permission. It's in cases like that that I offer it, and if it does good, then wonderful. If it doesn't, okay. I don't really have a motive. It's not really important to me one way or another. I'm just offering this loving energy to them for whatever it's worth. And before you might think I'm overstepping in that scenario, I would ask you this question. Imagine that airplane with the baby screaming for 10 minutes straight. Not everyone is going to be offering positive, supportive energy. There's probably going to be a couple of people on that airplane that get angry and upset, and they're going to be sending negative energy to the parents and that baby. Now, do they go and get permission from the parents or that baby to send their negative energy? Nobody ever does that, right? Nobody ever thinks about that. But we're so worried as Reiki practitioners to get permission for everything. And really, it's Reiki. It is life force energy. It is loving, kind, supportive, cannot do harm type energy. So I do think sometimes we can get too hung up on this whole idea of permission. But there's one other thing that I want to say about this. Again, as a professional Reiki practitioner, I have gotten clients sometimes that they have family members and they want me to do distance sessions on their family members for a certain reason. Obviously there's a motive there. Now it could be a spouse. So let's just say I'm seeing a female client and her husband is, I don't know, being difficult for some reason, or there's some issue between them in their relationship, and this woman wants me to do a distance session on the husband's energy. That is a downright no, because she's asking me without his permission to tinker around with his energy. And it's really on her behalf, you see. She's got a motive there. That's an absolute no. And I would invite you to consider that. If someone has a motive, then it's not really clean and clear on the intentions. And I don't cross that line. One thing we can do instead is we can see that client, that woman, for Reiki, offer her that. And we can also intend to send Reiki during that session to their relationship. All right? We can send it to the relationship, but to send it to him, that's a place I will not go. As you can see, I've outlined different scenarios and different opinions, and I have to say I follow my guidance every single time. My advice would be to follow your guidance. If you cannot get verbal permission, follow your guidance, and just make sure that you don't have any motives or personal reasons for a certain outcome. When you can offer Reiki with a clean and clear and compassionate heart, and it feels really good to you, then I would say go for it. You can also try that little exercise that I told you about a minute ago, and you can always put yourself in that person's shoes and see how you might feel about receiving Reiki in their situation. Our intention is really critical and important, so keep your intentions on the Reiki path clean and clear and for the person's highest good only. Again, go ahead and leave your comments, suggestions, and whatever else down in the comment section. Subscribe to the channel if you want to, and I'll see you back here for another Reiki video very soon. Until then, I wish you the highest Reiki blessings.